Hey there, creepy collectors, how's it going? It's Douglas here at Drowned Boy Productions, bringing you another Screaming Ghostface collector's video. And today we don't have that many items that we're going to be taking a look at, but we do have some pretty cool ones. One of which is a brand new release, and the other a very, very old release. And I guess since the newer ones may be a little bit more topical, we'll go ahead and take a look at it first. This is something that I foolishly didn't pre-order when it initially came up for sale, and of course you end up regretting that if it's something you really want. And unfortunately, with the resale market today, that's pretty much how it is. If you don't buy it when it initially comes out, you're going to end up paying more for it. However, thankfully, I finally was able to find one in person. I went to several different Best Buys trying to find any of these, and I finally came across only one. Here we have the new Scream 2 Steelbook. I am really happy I was able to find one of these for retail, but I'm pretty unhappy that it's kind of like beat up and scratched up. Some of the plastic's worn off and the, steel's already scraped in places. But, that's kind of the risk that you run with steelbooks. It's a love-hate relationship for sure. It looks kind of cool, and I guess they feel kind of cool, but at this point in time, I kind of just prefer a nice, well-made, regular case that can easily be replaced if something gets messed up. Whereas with this, if it gets damaged, it's permanently damaged. And being that I not only love Scream, but of course the fact that I have the Scream used costumes and stuff like that, I had to pick this up. It's going to be some of the best quality looks at these props, as well as just the film in general. But let's talk about this release itself. The cover artwork is one of my favorites. The cover artwork here has the Ghostface killer with the knife looming over the theater full of stabbed moviegoers. That's a really, really cool image. As for the back, it's pretty generic, but it says Disc 1 4K Ultra HD. You have the feature film plus special features, audio commentary by Wes Craven, Marianne Maddalena, and Patrick Lussier. Disc 2 is the Blu-ray. You have the feature film, special features, audio commentary by Wes Craven, Marianne Maddalena, and Patrick Lussier, outtakes, deleted scenes, theatrical trailer, TV spots, music videos, and a featurette. And of course, it comes with a digital download code, which I do believe I'll be using, and then after that I'll probably shelve this copy and try to take as good of a care of it as possible. We may go ahead and just tear this open, take a quick look inside. Okay, so it's not quite as beat up as I thought it was. It's just kind of gently scratched in a couple of areas here. But check this out. That whole back is actually just an insert. This is the real back in stab green font. Hello Sydney, remember me. And then you've got the Ghostface knife, which actually I think that's a $1.19, not a $1.20. But still pretty cool. Open it up, we've got the digital download code, not showing you guys that. And then here we have the discs, and of course, each eye, like from the poster, behind the discs. This is a pretty solid release. And though the Scream 2 Steelbook is a really cool new release, it's not my favorite item in today's video. Here we have a new mask for Mr. Mike Covert. Mike picked this piece up on Facebook Marketplace, I do believe, and ended up posting it up for sale in one of the Screaming Ghostface collectors groups, and it sat there a couple of days, which I was quite surprised at because it was a really, really cheap price on this thing. And after watching it sit a little bit longer, I thought about it and said, you know what, I do really like that copy, and I think I'm going to go after it. Here we have a Poly Shroud Second Dimple Gen 1 mask. For those of you watching who are very confused by what I just said, you might want to go watch my Scream 1 movie mask guide. I teach you how to identify and differentiate between the different Generation 1 mask molds. And as most of you watching know, the Generation 1 masks were primarily produced with cotton shrouds. However, some were made with polyester shrouds. These were very, very late run versions of the Generation 1 mask, but they are out there, and they actually are a bit rarer, of course, than the cotton shroud versions. And this particular copy is pretty beautiful. The overall shape of it is very nice. It could use a little bit of retro brighting because it's slightly yellowed, but it's not that bad. This mask is in such good condition, I personally wouldn't choose to retro bright it. I like the eye paint. It's got a very heart-shaped nose, so it doesn't have that flat nose, triangle shape that Gen 1s typically have. Of course, it's got the hand-cut eyes, and yeah, overall, just a really, really nice shaped mask. And this actually is my second Poly Shroud Generation 1 mask. However, this one's very different from my other copy. This one has a very almost catalog image finish to it. It's a very, very nice shape. looks the way that it should. It's not super distorted. Overall, a really, really nice mask to represent the sculpt. Then I have this copy, which is heavily warped, but it is a small dot mold. So still a Generation 1 mask, just not the same exact mold type. Another thing to note is, even though these are both Polyshroud Gen 1 masks, this one seems to have hand-cut eyes, and if you look at the shape of the nose and the paint, it's a bit more flat across the bottom, the more typical triangle-shaped nose paint that the Gen 1s have. Whereas this one has more of like the heart shape. I guess I should put them side by side. This one has more of the heart shape, and this is typically like a style that would be associated with a Gen 2 mask. But it just goes to show you really got to know your masks, know the mold types to tell these apart. There were even times in the past before we knew all the information about how to identify them with the markings on the mouth and stuff like that, that I believe I probably sold what I thought were Gen 2s or fearsome masks back then, and they were Gen 1s. It's very, very possible, it's very likely. I do remember a couple of very, very unique copies that I sold. Looking back, I'm pretty sure at least one or two of those was a Generation 1 Polyshroud mask, but regardless, I have two very, very nice copies that are very different from each other in my collection now, so I'm pretty happy. Huge thank you to Mike Covert for this new Gen 1 Polyshroud, and a huge thank you to Best Buy for the Scream 2 Steelbook. I guess there's nothing left to do but give you guys some close-ups of these masks. Love you all, thank you for watching, I hope you've been enjoying all these videos this season, and see you next time.